Right, well,
Okay.
I think this is this episode 5? I think this might be episode 5.
It's flying by. And anybody who is running the Bath half with me, whatever year you may be listening to this, but hey, it's 2026 where we are now. Then there's like 4 or 5 weeks till race day. I think there's 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think our past selves were quite clever in the structure of this series. I think we were, that we would get us up to race day and then we'd have a little post-race day report, celebration, and also a little chat about recovery and rest, right? In that last episode. Super important, as we all know. As we've just been talking about on the main pod, actually. But this is episode 5.
Past us for that.
Love
as well.
us.
Thanks,
so
us.
clever. So clever. This episode, as we talked about in the last episode, we are going to talk about the long run, which we will all be pretty well versed in if we're in a current half marathon training block. But this is for everybody that's maybe they've signed up, maybe you've signed up to a half marathon later on in the year. Maybe you're listening to this at another time and moment in space. I don't know. But half marathons happen all the time. And while we hope that we're kind of with you on your journey as you are training for a half marathon, there's going to be plenty of people who will be thinking about doing a half marathon and might be listening to this and thinking, oh, what do I need to do in order to prepare for that half marathon? And if that's you, A, you can do it. And B, we wanted to dedicate this whole episode on the bedrock of your training plan, which is the long run, which I think if you've never done a half marathon before, can be the part of the training plan that looks the scariest, but is in fact not. Discuss.
I feel like you nailed that intro there. I was on tenterhooks. I feel like, that is the thing, isn't it? Is that I think often when I first started training for half marathons, I would basically skip over whatever was happening in the week. I would just be looking at what that long run was. And that was my indicator of how hard it was going to be this week, how close I was to race day. Like that was my main indicator, was just what that long run, how long that long run was.
Yeah.
And we've come a long way since then. I now don't do that. I now do see maybe my weekly mileage as more of my indicator of like how tough this week is going to be. But I still feel like the long run, as you said, is that bedrock. Like that's the thing that's underpinning everything. And it takes quite a lot of different forms now. Like in general, a long run will be longer mileage, longer time on your feet, however your training plan is set out, whether that's like in time or in distance. And it will be like generally not your race pace. It will be probably similar to your easy pace, and will be about kind of building that time on your feet and slowly building that up. But disclaimer, I'm going to say that actually, like if you're looking at building speed, or if you're taking on like a big distance, or then you might see different types of long runs. You might see long runs with intervals in the middle of them. You might have a little chunk of steady running or something in the middle of your long run where you're trying to get your legs used to that race pace for a chunk of it, but not completely knacker yourself out. Make sure that you've got warm up and cool down mileage between that. Like, I think the long run is, it doesn't have to be, I guess, is what I'm saying, long and boring, churning out the miles. Often it is, and that is probably going to be the bulk of your training plan. But let's try and make the long run a bit more fun as part of this episode.
Yeah, and I think back to when I first started training for half marathons, and I definitely, when I was sort of basically creating my own training plan, my long run started probably at about 2 or 3 miles, and then I'd add a mile every week up until the week before, where I'd probably get to about 12 miles the week before a half marathon.
Yeah.
So it was
week before as well.
Oh, no taper. I hadn't heard of it before. Tapers didn't exist then, I don't think. No, they didn't. Just not in my life.
Only in trousers or...
Yes, quite. Or candles. Yeah, no, it was a very, very linear process. It was add a mile, add a mile, add a mile, and then do the half marathon, and then be incredulous that it was hard, that I couldn't understand why it was so tough, that I didn't feel rested at all before I did it. Anyway,
Yeah.
but now a half marathon training plan in my world looks very, very different, and the long run has become a joyful feature, because I think,
Same.
yeah, it really is. And one of those is because the sessions midweek, if you're following a training plan, can be technical, right? And they can be hard, short and hard, by doing those kind of short interval things where you're kind of trying to build strength and endurance in kind of different ways. And I mean, you feel brilliant after those kind of shorter ones, but they're hard, and you have to concentrate on them. Whereas with a long run, particularly as you start building your endurance on your legs and your heart and your lungs and stuff, your cardio endurance, it's an escape that is not matched by any other run.
No. And I think it also, the beauty of the long run is it allows you time to like get into it. So I still find that the last couple of miles of a long run, however long it is, are often quite tough, because no run is an easy run when you're talking about doing distances that you've either never done before or are objectively like some of the longest distances on your plan. Like, it will always feel a bit tough towards the end. But I was saying on the main pod this week, please do listen to the Women's Running Podcast if you don't already, that I enjoyed my 12-miler long run that I did this week more than I've enjoyed a 4-miler that I did this morning, because I didn't like it until I was like 3 miles in, and then I only had a mile to go, and then it was done. Whereas the long run, I think you're completely right. You're locking in, you're mentally not looking at it as one chunk, you're looking at it in little chunklets as you're going along. And it's, I don't know, I just find it so much easier to get lost in a long run than I do in a shorter one.
And also, I think there's, these days with plans, most plans, if you're doing, a plan for a half marathon that's 12, 16, 18 weeks, something like that, mostly what you'll see is that long run doesn't go up incrementally like mine did 20 years ago. What will happen mostly, like a very broad pattern for a half marathon long run, if you were to see it on a chart, would be to go up incrementally for maybe 3 weeks, and then to be much less. So you might do 3, 5, 7, say 3 miles, 5 miles, 7 miles on your Sunday long run. And then the following week, you might drop back down to 5.
Yeah.
Before the week after that, either going back up to 7 or maybe going up to 8, and then doing 8, 9, 10, and then dropping back down to 8. So those drop down weeks, they're so necessary for injury prevention, for endurance, for rest and recovery, but also they are amazing for your feeling of superhero-ness.
Yes.
Because on the week where you've done 10 miles as your longest run, my God, that's hard. Your first ever 10 miler. Super, super hard, not to be underestimated. But if you follow that with a drop down week, and that drop down week is like 6, you run that 6 and you're like, bloody hell, that was easy.
It's so nice.
It's amazing.
And also when you bounce back up again, like, it seems really annoying. And I've got it on my plan at the moment where like I'm doing, it's quite savage and I wouldn't recommend it. I'm doing 12 miles most weekends, but I've got a few drop downs in there, some 10s and some 8s chucked in there as my long runs. And obviously those are a bit nicer, but also when I go back up to 12 again, I feel like a tangible difference. Like, it feels really boring. And there is that, like, 100% when I first started training for halves, like I would have looked ahead and been like, what's the point of doing 12 multiple times? Because 12, I'm just proving that I can do it to myself. And why would I do that multiple times if I've already proved to myself I can do it? Oh my God, because it feels tangibly, not always, but tangibly easier a lot of the time when you are repeating a distance in your plan and going, oh, this feels more comfortable than it did last time. Like, all that work I've done in between is noticeable. The 2 weeks between the last time I did this distance and now I feel fresher, I feel stronger.
Yeah.
Not always.
But it does work
it
like
does
that, doesn't
work.
it? And it is one of those things, you'll hear this a lot or you'll read it quite a lot on socials or whatever, but once you've picked that plan, whatever plan it is that you're following, you have to trust it, because 9 times out of 10, they're written by experts. If you get it from a trusted source, you're getting it from an expert,
Yeah.
and they know what they're doing. And that you're gradually building your mileage, but that drop down is so crucial to
Yeah.
give you the rest in your legs and to make you much stronger when you come back. That's so, so, so important.
100%. I would,
Yeah.
don't skip it because it seems silly to run shorter when you've just been running longer. Definitely listen to that advice. I will say, we've just been talking about listen to your body in terms of, if I have a few times on this plan gone, no thank you, I'm not doing 12 again, because I have done it 4 times and my legs are going to fall off if I do it again today. I think always listening to your body is a great move, but I completely agree. I think if you spot anything on there and you think, but I'm going to lose fitness if I do that, I'm going to lose fitness if I drop down. No, you're not. It's there for a reason. Like you said, it's been put there because that's a practiced strategy that is going to make sure that, you avoid injury. I really feel like that is such a key one. Deloading a bit in a week can be the difference if you're on a knife's edge of injury.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. But you mentioned the word strategy, and I think that's a really important one to talk through. So we wanted to use this episode also to talk about the strategies that we use, mostly mental strategies, really, to get through that long run, which we also have used during races as well. So the things that we do to mentally overcome the huge hurdle that is a massive amount of mileage staring at you. Like, first of all, say you're going for that run on a Sunday morning, and your training plan says, like, say it says 8 miles, right?
Yeah.
Let's pick that, a kind of a midway run. You see that and you've never, ever, ever run that length before, ever. You wake up on Sunday morning. What do you do, first of all, to get yourself out of the door? How do you get motivated before you run it?
Love, great question. Okay, first of all, and I think if we've got time, we'll talk about this in a bit more detail, maybe just in terms of what we both do with this, but I'll make sure I've had some food, because the mental demons are going to be so much worse if I'm not fueled properly. The first thing that goes for me before just the feeling of things being hard is the voices in my head going, turn around, go home. They will be so much louder if I haven't had some carb before I've got out of the door. I will also probably maybe get myself up and make sure that I've eaten that like an hour before my run. I know it's completely different depending on different people, how quickly they digest things, but I will feel a bagel bounce around in my tummy unless I've eaten it like an hour before a run. Then I will probably good old fashioned pick a great playlist or something. Actually, this is such a weird tactic, but one thing that I really like doing is starting listening to a playlist before I've actually put my headphones on and gone out the door, because then I feel like I'm like, I want to carry on hearing, whether you're an audiobook or a podcast or a music person. I kind of like starting whatever it is that I'm going to be listening to as I'm putting my trainers on. So then all I'm doing is sticking my headphones on and going out the door, and it feels much easier to just sort of continue doing what I'm doing rather than like I'm having this big, okay, now's the moment thing. And then I think I will the other thing, I guess, that's going to make a big difference to my confidence and knowing that I'm going to feel comfortable throughout the run is I will make sure that I've got trainers that are tried and tested as much as possible, that I know aren't going to cause me grief. Actually, this is really boring, but that I've got my hair tied up nice and tight.
Yeah.
I went for a run today and it was flopping about all over the place, my ponytail, and it really genuinely put me off the run. Maybe I want to turn around and go home and get a different hair bubble. Little things like that, just making sure that your kit is the stuff that you know you're comfortable in, because this is where you're really going to be putting the kit to the test, because your longest miles are where it's going to be doing its hardest work. So making sure that I'm wearing something that I know is comfortable, I feel confident in, and isn't going to irritate me 6 miles in when I know I've still got 2 to go.
Yes.
That's before I get out the door, I think. What about you?
Well, yes, all very similar. I would definitely, I big tick for the listening to something partway through rather than starting it.
Yeah.
I'm an audiobook girl rather than music. And I have noticed there are times when I've thought I've been so clever before a race or before a long run, downloaded a brand new book to listen to. And it's just the worst thing in the world because you're not into it, you're not comfortable, you're not excited about what's going to happen. It's much, much better to have something that either you're familiar with or you're partway through and you love.
Yeah.
So having something like that. But the reason why I picked 8 miles rather than 6 was because the other thing that I would get prepared for before I go would be my hydration pack. So
Correct.
anything over 6 miles, I would make sure that I had my I've got a Salomon hydration vest for that sort of distance, so quite a small one. So it feels like a kind of, it feels like a sort of tight over vest, but it's got some compartments for hydration, for water, and also for gels.
Yeah.
So, and around about this time, around about the 6, 7, 8 miles time, we will talk about this later on, but that's when you're going to start experimenting with eating on the go and drinking on the go. I would suggest that 6 miles is absolutely the tipping point of you don't really want to be leaving the house without something to drink.
Yeah, certainly water. I completely agree. Anything over an hour, I will have water with me. Also, even if it's under an hour, but it's a hot day, I'll probably have water with me.
Good point.
Obviously, we're talking about spring half marathon training, so fat chance of this happening to any of us. But and yeah, agreed. I think 80 minutes, 8 miles, however. Adjust based on your pace and what your plan looks like, but that kind of a run, if I'm going to be spending like say an hour and 20 minutes running, then I will definitely also bring a gel and time that to be about halfway through the run. Would you do the same?
I would do exactly the same. The same. I think 8 miles for me is the tipping point in terms, so I wouldn't necessarily have a gel for 6 miles, but I would definitely for 8. But that then leads into strategies for the run, because we've talked about this before, but and again we will chat through nutrition I think later on in a later episode. But one thing that really helps me with those long runs is the gel taking. So once you've found your gel and you like it, or whatever it is that you eat to keep you going, whether that's sweets, whether that's gels, whether that's bars, whether that's some kind of fluid, whatever it is that you're taking to keep your carb levels up at any point during your run, I use that as my chunk. So when I'm running a long, long run, I'm taking something on board, some kind of food on board every 30 minutes. And it means that I can basically pare the race down into 30-minute chunks. And it means I don't look beyond it. Never look beyond it. So instead of me staring a 10-mile run in the face and just thinking, oh my God, I can't do this, I don't. I stare the first 3 miles in the face, because I get the first 3 miles done and I'm like, oh, gel time. And then I have that gel. That gel, I have it very, very slowly. Other people have different things and different techniques, but I have it very slowly. It lasts me a mile. I know it lasts me a mile. And then I've only got 2 to go before I have my next one.
You can have another one. Completely agree. And I also, however you like to split things up, I massively agree with that thing of never look beyond your next bit. So it's like people say never look in the mirror on psychedelics.
Never heard that, but okay.
Never look at the entire distance of your long run, because you'll get freaked out and you might break your brain.
It's true. It's true.
I really think it is. And I think that we actually were talking to an ultra runner the other day on the pod, and she was saying that sometimes she breaks it into park runs. And knowing that she's got a park run to go, sometimes I find that actually a little bit demoralizing, I will say, because a park run can feel quite hefty. And if you're really tired, thinking I've still got a park run to go rather than I've only got a park run to go can easily be the I never know which way my brain's going to go with that one. So
yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't think I would
yeah.
do that. I would break it into kind of, different. A park run. I think because a park run tends to be something that you do with effort, right? Because you do tend to, no matter, I know it's not a race, it's a whatever. I know that, but when you're doing it, you do tend to really push it, which means that a park run is never as laid back as it sounds. It's always tough. So to think to yourself under moments of great stress with 5 miles, with a 5K to go to the next kind of whatever, to think that that's a park run, I think is not great, because you're thinking about a hard 5K.
Yeah.
Rather than 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes of just consistent moving forward.
Exactly.
Which is
I
different.
Completely agree. Yeah. I think breaking down, I do like, I know this is actually maybe slightly counter to what we were saying before, because I guess this is incorporating the entire like distance of your long run into your brain. But I quite like doing percentages and sort of going, all right, I'm at 3 miles, I will have done 20%, or I will have done a quarter, or I really like doing that.
I do that. I do fractions.
Yeah. That works really well, because you are still only looking at that chunk, but also you're giving yourself that extra bit of a pat on the back that you're like quarter of the way through.
Yeah.
I quite like that. Again, I feel like maybe with longer distances, if I was really struggling, that might not necessarily be the one I'd reach for. I think if I was doing a distance that I was really, really anxious about and felt really long, and I was finding that fractions, percentages, park runs, episodes, chapters, days of the week, all sorts I've tried to do before.
Yeah.
If none of those were making me feel better, to me, that's time for good old-fashioned dissociation, where I actually try really hard not to think about the run too much, like allowing myself to mull over a little brain teaser, or really listen to whatever it is that I'm listening to, whether that's an audiobook. I really love listening to, I can't remember if I already said this on the pod, but at the moment I am obsessed with listening to DJ sets while I run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it allows me enough space to let my mind do the unravelly thing that's so great on a long run, of like figuring out, a problem, or working out what my week looks like, or all that stuff that makes you feel like your brain's kind of unraveled a bit.
Yeah.
But also it means that when I'm struggling, I can lock back in again and go, okay, just to this beat, or to the, I can kind of, it's like there's enough complexity going on with the music, but there's maybe not too many words that I can still do thinking.
Totally get that. I totally get that. Nice. I think the complexity thing is a good thing. I think there was one thing that I was taught in the early days as well of me doing marathon training. So really those long runs were getting really quite chunky, which was to break it up into chunks of 1 mile, actually. But to use that mile, if you're finding it hard in that moment and you're thinking, Christ, there's no way I'm going to get, say you got 3 or 4 miles to go and you're really struggling mentally, mostly, I guess, at that point. That one thing I was told was to do a kind of body check-in.
Yeah,
so
classic.
You go top to toe, and there's something I'd add into it as well. So top to toe, you just think, right, head up, shoulders back. So start on your posture first of all. Make sure that your arms are, everything you've been told to do. Make sure your arms are by your side, and that you're not crossing your hands over your body, which I do that all the time.
Same. And I do floppy, flappy wrists, wrists. Yeah. I do all the time, and I need to not do that. So it's really hard not to.
You check in on your posture and your form, and if you just do top to toe, if you have a little checklist of right head, shoulders, knees and toes, but you're doing your arms, you make sure that you're as upright as possible, that your legs are running on sort of parallel train tracks rather than crossing your feet over each other, which actually when you sort out your arms, that usually falls into place. So you do that. And the other thing I'd add into that every mile is, no matter how crazy you look at this point, smile. So force your face, no matter how much pain you're in, into a smile, and your perceived rate of exertion will reduce. The scientists have proven it will feel a tiny, tiny bit easier. if
They
you do
literally have, and I know it sounds bonkers, but you're so right. They literally
Mm.
have proven that. The scientists,
Hey, those people.
they
Yeah.
proved it. And it does work. It does
It
work.
really does.
And it's nice to other people, I think, who see you along the way, who you can have a little hello.
Have a little, yeah.
I think,
And then I
great
would
shout.
do that, and then get to the end, because you will get to the end, and celebrate, particularly if it's the longest distance you've ever done before. I would say that when I was training for a half marathon, that my greatest achievement was the 12 miler that I did in the weeks before. This is a long time ago, before I did taper weeks. But that 12 mile, because it was the longest distance I had ever done in my life, and I did it all by myself.
Yeah.
It's huge. And mostly we're going to be doing it all by ourselves. I mean, some of us might be lucky enough to have a running buddy or a running group or whatever, but mostly with those long runs, we're doing it by ourselves.
Yeah. So I think that's actually a good thing to mention as well. If you're doing it by yourself, I genuinely, hand on heart, don't get too nervous for long runs anymore. But that's taken years. Yeah. It's taken years. Like, it can feel really nerve-wracking and scary just going out and being like, well, I'm off. And especially if you're doing distances that mean, like, if you're doing an out and back, or you're doing a big loop, you can feel like really far from home when you're at the furthest point away from where you live or whatever. And one thing I did this weekend, actually, on my long run that was lovely, was I shared my location with my family, because I was running from home. And it was actually, I felt pretty safe. It was middle of the day, but it was more just the fact that I didn't 100% know where I was going. And it did mean that at one point my mum could be like, go south. But it meant that they could see what I was doing, which made me feel like, okay, I'm not completely on my own. And every so often I got a little text on my family group chat being like, well, hey, 10 miles or whatever, that really kept me going and was lovely. So if you struggle with running on your own, I know some of us love it and don't want to talk to another person. But if you struggle with it, then let a friend know and share your location with them. And then you think, oh, it's okay, I do still exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we've talked for ages, and we promised each other that we would try and keep it brief for you all. But again, we'll talk about this properly in another episode. But just to reiterate, I think it's so important, especially as women, that we have, and especially if this is maybe your first experience of doing longer distances. I feel like we've been told our whole lives that exercise is supposed to be for being in some sort of calorie deficit, or for, like, I really would not recommend falling into that. Refuel properly and really make sure that you've replenished yourself because it's huge exertion, and you are talking like a great old heaping help of calories that you've just lost if you're doing a 8 mile, 9 mile, 10 mile run. That's a big chunk, and you need to make sure that you are having something carby, something with a bit of protein relatively quickly after you come back from that run.
Yes, do. And that will make you feel so much stronger for the next time that you want to go out for a run. So we'll talk about all of that in another episode to come.
Yeah, let's.
But in the meantime, I hope you all have a very lovely long run and enjoy it.
Smash it. And I completely agree. Enjoy it. I think hopefully we've given you some good little tactics for trying to enjoy it. And I promise, even if it does feel really, really hard now, the point of all of this is that one day you will do that 8 mile run and go, oh, it doesn't feel quite so hard. I'm actually enjoying myself.
Yeah.
You really will get there.
You will.
And that's from a certified lazy bones like me.